All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we are diving into some pretty wild stuff.
Sounds exciting.
It is. A listener sent us this, it's kind of like a self-help motivational thing,
Okay.
But it claims you can totally rewire your brain in just 72 hours.
72 hours, that's what, 3 days?
Yep. 3 days to a brand new you, supposedly.
And how do they propose we do that?
Well, that's where things get interesting.
I'm intrigued.
They bring in all this quantum physics stuff, energy frequencies, that kind of thing.
So a little bit of science, a little bit of, let's say, interpretation.
Exactly, and that's what we're here to unpack today.
Right, separating the hard science from the wishful thinking.
Exactly. Like one of the first things they say is that by age 35, 95% of who we are is just programmed behavior, like from our past.
Okay, 95%. Now, that's a bold statement.
It is, right. So what do you think? Is there any truth to that?
Well, think about it. How many times do you just react out of habit, like without even thinking?
Oh, all the time.
Right. And those habits, so those reactions, they come from somewhere.
They're programmed into us.
In a way, yeah. Think of it like a path in the woods. The more you walk it, the more defined it becomes.
Makes sense.
And our brains are kind of like that. Those neural pathways, they get stronger the more we use them.
So like that example from the source about waking up and instantly being bombarded by the same thoughts and worries, that's because those pathways are so strong.
Yeah, the neurons that fire together, wire together,
It's like our brain's on autopilot.
Exactly. So the question is, can we break free from that autopilot?
Well, this source claims we can, and in just 72 hours, no less.
3 days to a brand new brain, huh? All right, I'm listening.
I'm skeptical, but also, who wouldn't want that?
For sure. I mean, we all have things we'd like to change about ourselves, right?
Totally. But is it really possible to, completely rewire our brains that quickly?
Well, let's not dismiss the power of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and adapt.
So our brains aren't just set in stone after a certain age?
Not at all. They can change throughout our lives.
That's encouraging. But I have to admit, when this source starts talking about quantum physics and our thoughts shaping reality, I get a little lost.
Quantum physics can be a bit mind-bending, for sure.
It is. They're saying our thoughts and feelings are like energy, broadcasting frequencies, attracting similar experiences. It's all a bit much for me.
Okay, let's unpack that a little.
Please do, because, are we literally manifesting things into existence with our minds?
Well, that's where the line between science and, let's say, interpretation gets a little blurry.
Right.
Our thoughts and emotions do create energy in our bodies. That's measurable.
So there's something to it.
Yeah, but whether we're literally warping reality with our thoughts, that's a different question.
Okay, so maybe we shouldn't take the quantum stuff literally, but is there still something to this idea of our energy attracting experiences?
I think it's a good metaphor for the power of belief and intention.
Okay, that makes sense.
If we believe we can achieve something, we're more likely to take action towards it.
Right, our mindset matters.
Exactly, and our mindset is reflected in our energy, how we show up in the world.
So maybe it's not about literally attracting things with our minds, but more about how our energy and beliefs influence our actions and ultimately our results.
I think that's a much more grounded way to look at it.
This is getting really interesting. Now, they also talk a lot about the heart, saying its electromagnetic field is like 500 times stronger than the brain's.
The heart is a powerful organ, that's for sure.
And they claim that when the heart and brain are in sync, something they call heart-brain coherence, this field gets even stronger, like 5,000 times stronger.
Okay, so that's venturing into some pretty big numbers.
Right. So is there any scientific basis for this heart-brain coherence thing?
Well, the heart's electromagnetic field is definitely measurable, and it is stronger than the brain's.
Okay, so there's some truth to that.
And there's growing research on heart rate variability, how rhythmic our heartbeats are.
And what does that have to do with, our thoughts and emotions?
Well, greater heart rate variability is linked to better stress management, emotional resilience, even improved cognitive function.
Really? So our heart rhythm can actually impact how well we think?
It seems so. And some researchers believe that cultivating a coherent state where the heart and brain are working in sync can have a profound impact on our well-being.
Wow. So even if we set aside the, let's call it quantum embellishment, there's still something really powerful about this heart-brain connection.
Absolutely. And that's what we're going to explore further as we dive deeper into this 72-hour transformation plan.
All right, I'm ready to hear more about this plan.
Let's do it. Okay, so we're ready to tackle this 72-hour transformation plan, are we?
Let's do it. I'm curious to see how they break down these 3 days.
Me too. So Day one, they call it breaking free. It's all about becoming aware of those subconscious patterns that are kind of running the show.
Right, like those automatic reactions we were talking about.
Exactly. And they suggest a pretty specific routine for this day.
Oh, like what?
Waking up before sunrise, practicing heart coherence, flooding your system with gratitude, that kind of stuff.
Whoa, waking up before sunrise. They lost me there.
Well, the idea is that it's a quiet time, less distractions,
Okay, I can see that, but still.
It's about connecting with yourself before the day gets crazy.
Like hitting the reset button.
Yeah, exactly. And for the heart coherence part, they recommend a specific breathing pattern. Inhale for 5, hold for 5, exhale for 5.
Interesting. Is there any science behind that?
There is. Research shows certain breathing techniques can influence our heart rate variability.
Heart rate variability.
Yeah, it's basically how much variation there is between your heartbeats.
And why is that important?
Well, greater variability is linked to better stress management, emotional resilience, all that good stuff.
So it's not just about breathing deeply, it's about creating a specific rhythm that benefits our heart and ultimately our whole system.
Exactly. And when you combine that with feeling gratitude, it creates a powerful shift.
Right, because gratitude helps us focus on the good stuff.
Exactly. It shifts our perspective, helps us appreciate what we have.
Okay, so day one is about setting the stage, getting ourselves in the right mindset.
Yep, awareness and gratitude, that's the foundation.
Then we move on to day two, creating your future. And this is where they really get into the manifestation stuff.
Right, they talk about mentally rehearsing your new life, not just visualizing it, but really feeling it.
Okay, I've heard about visualization before, but what do they mean by feeling it?
It's about engaging all your senses, making it as real as possible in your mind.
So like, if I want to manifest a new job, I shouldn't just picture myself in the office, but also imagine how it feels to be there, the excitement, the confidence, all of that.
Exactly. Our brains are really good at blurring the lines between imagination and reality.
So if we can convince our brain that something is real, even if it's not yet, it can start to make it happen.
That's the idea. By vividly imagining and feeling our desired future, we're essentially sending our brains and bodies a blueprint for that reality.
So it's like we're programming ourselves for success.
In a way, yeah. We're strengthening those neural pathways, reinforcing those beliefs, making it more likely that we'll take actions that align with that vision.
It's like giving our brain a target to aim for.
Exactly. Instead of just hoping for things to change, we're actively creating that change in our minds and bodies.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this all fits together.
Good. Now, day 3 is where things get a little more, let's say, interesting.
Yeah. Interesting is one word for it.
They call it embracing the supernatural. And, well, they talk about all sorts of things. Synchronicities, spontaneous healing, even supernatural events.
I knew it. This is where I start to get a little skeptical.
I get it. It's definitely pushing the boundaries.
So how do we make sense of this without, going full on woo-woo?
Well, I think it's important to approach these claims with a healthy dose of skepticism.
For sure.
I mean, some people might genuinely experience these phenomena, but our brains are also really good at finding patterns, even when they don't exist.
Right, like seeing faces in the clouds.
Exactly. So it's possible that some of these supernatural events are just our brains making connections that aren't really there.
Okay, so maybe not everything is a sign from the universe.
Right, but even if we don't take these claims literally, there's still a valuable lesson here.
Which is?
The power of belief.
Ah, okay.
If we truly believe that we're capable of transformation, that the universe is supporting us, it can shift our perception.
It's like we're opening ourselves up to new possibilities.
Exactly. And that ties into their emphasis on elevated emotions, especially gratitude.
Right. They talk about feeling gratitude so deeply that it brings tears to your eyes.
It sounds intense, but there might be something to that level of emotional immersion.
Like it's not just a mental exercise, it's a full body experience.
Exactly. And that can have a powerful ripple effect on our energy and how we interact with the world.
Okay, so gratitude is our superpower.
You got it. Now, another key concept they emphasize is living in the end result.
Living in the end result, what does that even mean?
It means feeling the emotions of your desired future, as if it's already happening, regardless of what your current reality looks like.
Wait, so if I'm broke, I should just walk around feeling like a millionaire?
It's not about pretending or faking it. It's about cultivating those feelings of abundance now in the present moment.
Okay, so it's more about shifting my internal state to match the reality I want to create.
Exactly. And that's where things can get tricky because it requires a lot of trust.
Trust in what?
Trust in the process. Trust that even though things might not look different yet, The change is happening on a deeper level.
So it's about having faith, even when we can't see the evidence.
Exactly. And that can be a tough one for a lot of people, myself included.
I can imagine. But they do make a point about how our emotions actually affect our genes.
Right. They talk about epigenetics.
Epigenetics.
It's basically the study of how our environment and lifestyle choices can influence gene expression.
So, like, our genes aren't set in stone. We can actually change how they function.
To a certain extent, yes. And while the research is still emerging, there's growing evidence that our thoughts, emotions, and beliefs can play a role in this.
That's incredible. So if I'm constantly stressed out, I could be turning on genes that make me more susceptible to disease.
It's possible. And on the flip side, if you cultivate positive emotions, you might be activating genes that promote healing and well-being.
So our emotions aren't just affecting our mood, they're literally influencing our biology.
Exactly. It's all interconnected. The mind, the body, the environment, it's all one big system.
This is blowing my mind. Okay, so we've got all these concepts: waking up early, heart coherence, gratitude, living in the end result, epigenetics. It's a lot to take in.
It is, and it's easy to get caught up in the theory, but the real question is, how do we apply this to our lives?
Right, because it's one thing to talk about rewiring your brain, but how do you actually do it?
Well, that's what we're going to explore next.
So we've covered a lot of ground here: waking up early, heart coherence, gratitude, living in the end result, even how our emotions can affect our genes.
It's a lot to wrap your head around, that's for sure.
It is. But one thing that keeps coming back to me is this idea that even if we don't buy into all the, let's say, mystical aspects,
Right.
could just acting as if we have the power to shape reality actually make a difference?
That's a really interesting question.
Like, even if it's not literally true, could that belief become a self-fulfilling prophecy?
Well, think about it. When you believe you can achieve something, you're more likely to take action, to persevere through challenges.
You're more confident, more optimistic.
Exactly. And that mindset, that belief in yourself, it can open doors, attract opportunities you might not have seen otherwise.
So even if reality isn't literally bending to our will, our belief can change how we interact with the world, and that can lead to real results.
I think that's a very powerful point.
It is, and it makes me think about that analogy from The Source, the one about us being like walking radio towers, broadcasting our emotions.
Oh, yes, that's a good one.
It really stuck with me, this idea that we're constantly emitting frequencies based on how we're feeling, and that's attracting certain experiences into our lives.
It's a metaphor, of course, but it highlights how our energy, our emotional state, can influence the people and experiences we attract.
Right. Like, think about how drawn you are to people who are positive and joyful. Their energy is contagious.
It is. And on the flip side, we've all experienced how draining it can be to be around someone who's constantly negative.
Totally. It's like their energy just sucks the life out of you.
Exactly. So while we might not be literally emitting radio waves, there's something to be said for being mindful of the emotional frequencies we're putting out into the world.
And that brings us back to this whole concept of manifesting, which the Source really emphasizes.
Right, they're big on that.
They're claiming that when we're clear about what we want and we truly feel the emotions of already having it, we're sending a powerful signal to the universe.
Now that's where the science gets a little fuzzy.
I know, it's definitely a leap of faith.
It is. But even if we don't fully understand how it works, there's a lot of anecdotal evidence suggesting that our thoughts and beliefs can influence our reality.
Right. Like, when you're focused on something, you tend to notice more opportunities related to it.
Exactly. And you're more likely to take action to make choices that support that goal.
It's like you're creating a self-fulfilling prophecy.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
You're putting out that intention, that desire, and the universe responds.
So maybe it's not about some mystical force granting our wishes, but more about how our focused intention helps us create the conditions for those wishes to manifest.
I think that's a more grounded way to look at it.
It is, and it makes the whole manifesting thing seem a little less out there.
Right. It's not magic. It's about aligning your thoughts, emotions, and actions with your desired outcome.
And one of the key tools for that alignment, according to the Source, is visualization.
Oh yeah, they're big on visualization.
They talk about not just picturing what you want, but really experiencing it with all your senses.
Right. They say you got to step into that reality, feel it as if it's already happening.
And the idea is that by doing that, we're convincing our subconscious mind that it's true, which then influences our actions and choices.
Exactly. It's like programming your internal GPS to guide you toward your destination.
And the more vivid the visualization, the more real it feels, the stronger that signal becomes.
You're not just daydreaming, you're actively creating that reality in your mind.
This is making me think about all those stories of successful athletes and entrepreneurs who used visualization to achieve their goals.
Oh yeah, there are tons of those. They visualized themselves winning the championship, launching that successful business, and then they went out and made it happen.
So there's definitely something to this, even if it's not some magical force, but more about how visualization helps us focus our energy and actions.
I think so. It's a powerful tool for creating the life we want.
Well, listener, we've gone deep down the rabbit hole on this one, exploring rapid transformation, the power of belief, the mysteries of the mind-body connection.
It's been quite a journey.
It has. And while we might not have all the answers, we hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and maybe even inspired you to experiment with some of these concepts in your own life.
Remember, the most important takeaway is that you have more power than you realize.
You are the creator of your reality, and even small shifts in your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs can have a ripple effect on the world around you.
So keep exploring, keep believing, and keep diving into the infinite possibilities that lie within you.
Until next time.